Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome to a quick, hopefully, quick overview / initial impressions of a game mod for Hearts of Iron 4 called Pax Britannica, an Imperial Timeline. So, a couple of caveats before we start. This mod is in early-ish production, early-ish access. I say early-ish, you'll find out why it's early-ish later. But not everything you see here is going to be representative of the final product, and there is a link down below which I very much recommend you click on if you want to get into this mod, because holy shit, it is amazing. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, what is this mod? Well, Pax Britannica is basically a alternate history where Britain reigned supreme, like, for centuries. Like, the British Empire has reigned with very little issues, such as there was no successful American War for Independence. Napoleon got his ass handed to, apparently, resulting in the Holy Roman Empire never being dissolved. Germany is not in a Third Reich. There wasn't World War I, but instead of France and Britain working together, it was Germany and Britain working against France. Incredible. Yes, there's a lot of differences in this particular mod, and this video hopefully will give you a nice little brief glimpse, as brief as I can make it, whilst also keeping it relatively interesting as possible. So, for the sake of ease, I'm going to play as the Germans because that's the nation with the most familiar mechanics that I can see. But before we jump into the nation, the world is a little bit of a different place. As you can see, we'll start with the Americas. As you can see, there's no America. The United States never existed, resulting in there not being a Canada, there not being a whole section of America under the control. The Native American tribes are still going strong. Mexico is in a strong position, and California and various other small republics are there. The mod maker, I will add, in future updates, will actually... the mod maker intends on making for future updates to have their own sort of American War for Independence in the 30s mindset, which is actually kind of a cool thing. So if you can see, eventually there's going to be a thing in said future updates whereupon we will see this particular thing occurring, which is pretty cool. Wow, National Representative State Conservative, never with an election, GG. But as you can see, there are quite a few differences in the world. Spain is different, Holy Order of Spain, because of course. Oh, that's just one century of humiliation. Ooh, French and the French and the Americans. There's a lot of lore, by the way. I'm glossing over a lot of lore, but there is a lot of, like, basically imagine a world where imperialism never quite died. You've got the Ottoman Empire still going strong, though admittedly now not as strong as it was. I think they still have a lot of power, but not obviously as strong. Britain has, of course, the Suez Canal, because why wouldn't we? We don't seem to have India anymore, which is kind of cool. It's intriguing. Looks like Australia is not under the control of the Australians. I think we've got some parts that are still German, in fact. Like, if you've ever played the game Victoria 2, I haven't. Imagine a Hearts of Iron 4 child of that, and you're not going to be too far wrong. So obviously the main front we're going to be focusing on is these three nations. Russia is eventually planned to be added into the game for the mods, but at the moment they aren't really playable. So it's at the moment you can only really play as Germany, France, and Britain. But because I know the mechanics of Germany the most, I will click on Germany. So as you can see, already we've got some differences in the UI, we've got some differences in the starting up period, and it is incredible. There's a wall of text, which I won't click onto because it will take too long. You also have the ability to have special audio that you can listen to. Is that a chilled cow reference? I know it's called Loafy Girl nowadays, but I prefer chilled cow. I prefer the old name. That's a chilled cow reference. GG. She's made it, yeah! To be honest with you, I can't wait for a mainstream film, not that I watch it, to have a reference to that. Someone referencing that meme would be awesome. Anyway, so to briefly gloss over the differences in this game, there are new things. For example, we now have different resources. Kind of simplified, but kind of different. Rather than having all sorts of stuff, to be fair, I think it's just same stuff, different text. I do know the agriculture is new. We don't have to deal with agriculture, but everything else like fuel, crude oil, agriculture, fuels, jazz. So there is resources. You've got titanium, corundum, and all that jazz. Rare metals apparently. So it's different, but the same sort of thing. And if we go into double default map mode, and we go into construction to start with, we will have a number of new options after the fuel silo. You've got Argoponics Complex, which improves the food situation in the surrounding state, requiring some manpower, but improving the overall agriculture. We then have the Synthetic Mineral Fabricator, which makes fake metal. Wonder how that sounds. Ba-dum-tum-tisk. You have medical facilities, which improves the monthly population, reduction of experienced soldier loss, and also reduces your officers' chances of getting sick. The Tesla Tower, which sounds awesome, improves the efficiency of your local factories, and a research campus, which allows you to research it a little bit faster, which is also pretty impressive. Apart from that, we've got the usual buildings, but with new flavor text and icons, which I really like. I would just want to say the artwork in this mod is beautiful, and I love it. It just feels like a different game, or a new game with... I love it. It's a nice improvement over the UI, and it's not just a copy-paste. It is lovely, and I very much appreciate that. Anyway, most other icons are more or less the same thing. I mean, obviously we've got trade, which has the new different icons. You have the different nations with the flags. The diplomacy is also the same thing. There are some stuff that is not quite finished or worked through yet. Intel is pretty much the same. I don't really think there's going to be much changes to this unless there's a special like steampunk era option you can choose. But you've got the cryptology department, the trainings and the operations and all of that jazz. There's no real differences in that regard. It still costs factories, which I'm surprised. I'm used to paying for caps. The deployment screen, same as before, nothing really different. The officers' ledgers, again, same, no difference. Ledger, which I really like the image. I've seen a number of these posters, and some of them look really cool, and some of them are a little hilarious. But yeah, again, no real difference. But if we go into the Decisions tab, you will find quite a different case. So with this game, which I've listed on the bullet points to my left screen, there's a lot of political decision making, far more than perhaps previously, and I really like this. So for example, basically what you need to do as the kingdoms of Germany, and each nation that is currently playable, you have to have your own special political decisions that you'll have to deal with. For example, I'll turn this down a bit. Music's like, we are free, and also loud. So in the case of Germany, because you're not a Reich, you're not like a fascist nation, you have to deal with the other kingdoms in Germany in order to placate them, each having their own political own unrest, and depending on the amount of how much or how well or how poorly you manage it, your political power is also affected by this particular thing. So it can eventually reach over to 100, resulting in obviously uprisings and aggressions, and you have a number of political decisions to choose to ensure the unrest being taken down, which is pretty cool. But again, it costs a lot of political power, and you have to try and keep this in terms of that everyone's also happy with. You also have domestic affairs, which you do have, though you won't be able to immediately access this now. There is a giant amount of bloody... There's basically will be a number of political decisions that you'll have to make here regarding your economy, because obviously everyone's suffering from the Great Depression, resulting in the country being a little bit shit, as you can see by these policies and economic policies. Now, these aren't affected by political power. You can't just sort of select the things, as you can see. They are affected by improvements utilizing the political decision options where will be something that allows it. So if we actually go to the next part, though, of the political decision-making skills, it's not just all political, it's also military command power. So as you can see, the world is shifting towards a general war once more. We'll continue to the modernization of the armed forces. The laws tab decisions will increase modernization to varying degrees. Upon hitting 100%, you will advance to the next station, which we'll get to in a second. And basically, what you can do, which very awkwardly segues into the development tab. Basically, the development tab is a special little bar that progresses depending on what you're doing in terms of economic, literacy, and poverty. The industrialization and westernization, I would think, is for when you're playing as a third world nation like China. Well, the Qing dynasty, bearing in mind that in the 30s it wasn't that advanced, unlike now. You've got Japan, who is possibly also dealing with their own political issues. Maybe parts of India, maybe parts of Indonesia, the Philippines, that sort of thing. But in the West, we have to deal with military, economic, literacy, and poverty rates. These are filled up by your political decisions in terms of focuses. Where is the... you can see you're modifying the consumer goods, the status fate. Where's the one that allows me to improve? There's one that does allow the political mindset to change. There's one that... no, where is it? There was one that basically allows us to improve the... Oh yeah, political unrest. So basically, there are a number of political decisions inside your focus tree that I can't remember which one it activates and showcases the happiness, whatever. But basically, they will improve your rates, if you will. And once they reach to a maximum point, you'll obviously have changes being made. So, for example, your moderate state welfare turns into a generous state welfare, or if your subsidized production, or in higher education, or in the case of the healthcare, in the case of the other things, trade unions banned, or in case of economy, there we go. Strong economy with a massive product efficiency cap, research center, everything's being built faster, more efficiency. We've got stagnant economy, and as you can see, it can be absolutely disastrous if you fuck it up. You have uncivilized, partially westernized, as well as fully westernized. We get some bonuses, and then of course we have technical teams, which I didn't even look at previously. So we can improve all these little things to have a particular focus, and I can actually have 4 with a theorist. I fucking wish I had the... Oh no, this is because you have all the different things, yeah. So there you go. So you have a load of options to choose from, as well as the political side of things as well. And the cabinet and everything else. So there's a lot of things you have to deal with in order to survive as a nation. So for France to briefly take over, you have to deal with the sort of political upheaval of a nation that was defeated in a war, that socialism is coming in and infecting the world, affecting the nation. You've got fascism and right-wingers also coming in and infecting the politics of diplomacy. So you have to try and balance things out, or you can either let them do it and become a communist or a fascist utopia and basically stir up more trouble. In the UK, you have to deal with the politics of the House in the House of Commons. There are a number of political parties that you need to try and wean and duck and dive and negotiate your way through, all the while keeping, peace and stability in your nation while fucking over other people's. So there's a lot to do for any particular management. Like the managing your civilization, unlike, for example, in the vanilla Hearts of Iron 4, where it's just literally, I want to build a strong economy so that I can build more tanks. It's like, right, so now I have to not only build the economy, I also have to make sure that people are happy, that things are being managed, and that wars become a lot more like the war is probably the side note at this point. I spent like a good 5 to 6 hours in my playthrough as Germany just fixing Germany up. I had no wars. I had yet to fight a war, but I just spent all that time slowly but surely building my nation up and fixing stuff out, which is pretty cool. In terms of unique stuff, if we go into the Reese tech tree, you can see we have a few differences in technology, i.e. Germany gets their shit really quite, this is an alternate steampunk environment. Tesla's, in the description, Tesla basically introduced a new renaissance of technology, resulting in us having advanced bits of tech that even today would be quite advanced. Drink to stop my throat from turning into a sieve. So, as you can see, we have Sturmgewehr 1937. Damn, the Sturmgewehr 37 doesn't quite ring as well as Sturmgewehr 44. But oh well. We also have the GSM-1, which was made in 39, so you can have a modern assault rifle in 1939. And then you have a bullpup in 45. We also have Tesla-style weaponry at the end of it in 42, along with their special equipment, and it is just ridiculous how much shit you gain access to. You also have a few special things. You can improve your soldiers with various additives, I'll say, which is a lot of side grades to choose from. You don't have to, but obviously if you want your dudes to survive a little longer, you may wish to invest in such things. The support doctrine's the same, armor's the same, artillery's the same, naval's the same, industry's the same, but the differences you'll find are in the... We'll go electronics first. So, I'm going to add a slight warning. If you are weak-willed, if you are the kind of person who has a very innocent ideology about how the world should be, then obviously you wouldn't be playing this game, so I shouldn't really be bothering. You can make gas weapons and germ warfare. You can go full chemical warfare if you really want. Bearing in mind, the First World War, for some reason, didn't teach people the horrors of what gas can do, so you can either make special kinds of gas, some of which induces paranoia, some of which induces... bloody hell. Some of which induces some pretty nasty psychological effects, some of which can lead... some of which can be... anthrax, which is absolutely devastating. Some of which can... it is likely to spread to other states. You can make smallpox. You can make the growth genome, which is very bad, very interesting. You can't bring the sea. They don't have the sea, if you know what I mean. But you can make pretty much everything else, which is horrifying. But to be fair, weirdly enough, the most frightening thing to me at this particular thing, although none of these things I want to see in real life, this is the least thing I want to see in real life. Live wire. So, live wire is a cruel weapon. Having seen deployment during the Great War on both sides through biological engineering and early experimentation with amalgamates, live wire became a weapon used on the fronts of Iberia and France. Unlike boring barbed wire, live wire responds to stimulants like a soldier touching the wire, leading it to wrapping around the poor soul and extensive pressure being put on him, like a boa constrictor with razors across its entire body. So to simplify this, imagine a barbed wire, just you touch it, and it not only senses you're there, it then wraps itself around you and squeezes. That is genuinely frightening, and I hope to God we never invent something like that IRL, because a barbed wire that instinctively wraps itself around someone and kills them, you don't know what the fuck it wants to do next. Does it drink the blood? We don't know, and I don't want to know, so there you go. You can go, so going on to the next differences, we can go to aircraft. And as you can see, we gain access to jet engines and various other things very quickly. In fact, in 35, we can have what's known as a teleforce engine, which apparently uses electrostatic motion to propel items larger than pellets through the motion of an engine, can allow planes to fly and conquer the sky without need for diesel, which apparently improves your reliability. Apparently. Well, the fuel usage is very small in comparison to, say, regular aircraft. But there we go. So you can utilize new types of aircraft. You have two options to choose from, obviously, the tactical strategic bombers, and I'm certain someone's probably going to be like, oh my god, look, it's a stealth bomber. It's not the stealth bomber. It's not the predecessor to the stealth bomber. It is not the stealth bomber. It just has similar styles to it, if you angle it very well. So going back to the actual stuff, you have the different jet biters, the jet tac bombers, and all of that jazz. If we go to the augments, you can see we gain some special things. First of all, we can have mech suits for soldiers. Could be like Fallout, though I have a horrible feeling it's actually not like Fallout and instead like the Robo Brains. So like Fallout. You can even have Razor Maidens, which are basically incredibly strong, terrifying women who have the ability to turn into cyborgs. Because of course they can. Holy shit, that would be terrifying. But you can also fuck with nature, resulting in you creating some absolutely disgustingly horrifying creatures designed to hunt people down and kill them. I really don't like the sound of that, but hey ho, you can make a monster out of nothing. Yeah. Yes. God, can you imagine if yeah, no, thank you. And then finally, we come to the automechs. As you can see, we on board coffee and tea. I mean, it's important. We shouldn't sink below a certain standard. I love it. So as you can see, you have a choice of working with robots, the Walker Drop robots, which have their own icon, which is pretty cool. At the moment, it's just a duopod icon. If you go to the quad pod and do the same thing, they only have duo things. But eventually, we can probably have some Iron Harvest style warfare where you have giant robots shooting big guns at each other, which I really like that game. Not great. Unfortunately, it's not one of those games that can survive, but I think if you could have that in another form, oh boy, it would work beautifully. But there you go. So you have the option of making walker tanks if you want, though you do still have tanks, which does beg the question: could a tank survive in combat with a walker, with an automech? You never know. But anyway, you now have the choice between the two, which is pretty cool. So there is a lot to do and a lot to see in this particular mod. I've been going for about 20 minutes now, so I will begin to wrap the video up with one last, a couple of last caveats to deal with things. So I've mentioned about the political decisions and how you'll be starved for political power if you're trying to work with that, which is incredible. You will get events during your time which will affect your political power. I've not played too much of France or Britain, so I do not know if you have the same issue. But in Germany, you will be having political power problems that result in you having to make a decision of three options. The first is you placate the issue. And you reduce the unrest in the different region, but you lose political power, which can go into the minus. You can kind of half-heartedly fix the issue, so you do still lose political power, but not as much. And there's like a 50% chance that you lose or gain unrest. And then you could finally go, fuck your decision, I do not want to take part in this. And you could end up gaining political power, but you piss off the local nations. So you piss off the local natives of that area, which is not too good. But the other thing I was going to mention, which is something that I think, again, if you're the kind of person who could potentially find this offensive, then I seriously think you should have a little bit of a warning. Because some of the political decisions, as well as the text, is not caring in terms of political correctness. So for example, if you are Germany and you decide to play as the right-wingers, you will see old-fashioned right-wing, extreme right-wing mon sets, there are certain things that are a little bit spicy. For example, guaranteed Jewish protection. Yes, there is a few spicy event lines, as well as, again, depending on your mindset and political spectrum, you may or may not find offensive. For me, I find this, I'm not offended, and I actually approve of the fact that they are there, not because I support the ideology behind them, but because I support the historical aspect to them. I find that if you censor a mod or censor a bit of text because it's not in lining with what we would consider to be appropriate nowadays, you're just kind of, you're presenting the wrong kind of mindset and image to future generations. It's a form of censorship, which I'm not. Censorship is a completely dangerous and should never be done, because it just means that you censor history, and that just means it's doomed to repeat itself. So I applaud the mod maker for adding these particular things, but I felt like I should mention this because there's going to be some whining piece of shit who's going to see something and go, I said something that I don't agree with and I don't like it, so I'm going to cry about it and cause problems. So now you know. You have no excuse. You heard me say it. There is some anti-Semitism. There is probably some nasty other shit that in the other nations you can have. But it's not overbearing. It's not like actual anti-shit. It's just think about the time period and the people you're living with at that point. And you will understand that they probably wouldn't give two shits about saying something offensive like that. And because, again, not your mindset. But anyway, I have been rambling on now for about 25 minutes. 26 now. So I will leave you with this relatively short video, and once again I very much recommend this mod. It is a fantastic mod. I believe you should definitely play it. As you can see by some of the artwork and these beautiful things, like the loading screens when you start the game up is fantastic, and the music, it just works. I love it. And I very much recommend anyone who is intrigued by the kind of what-if scenarios. If you like having alternate histories, this one is definitely up there, alongside Kaiserreich, upside Old World Blues, and all of that jazz. Now I'm going to drink and rest my throat, because you can already hear the croakiness. And I will leave there. If you like this kind of content, let me know in the comment section down below. This is my first ever overview sort of video, so let me know what you thought, if you liked the video, if you don't like the video. If you want me to do a playthrough of this thing, more than happy to give it a bash. I'm not too experienced with non-Old World Blue stuff. That's my main stage. So I will be shit, but hopefully I will learn. And there are some other mods I wanted to give a bit of a quick preview to. They might not be as long as this video, but you never know. So I will catch up with you on another one. This is Mr. Jaeger signing out. Have a good one, guys.